That's called leverage. Now, a younger man who doesn't have a family, who can live off of $1,000 a month, who can live out of his car, who can travel the world with no real sense of commitment, it's difficult to have that sense of leverage. I'm sure every single one of us has heard the saying, men can't commit, or men are afraid of commitment. And it's complete BS, because commitment is the one thing that men do best. The problem is that it's not an innate skill. It's something that we have to learn how to do over time. You see, boys, we're born making the world all about us. Our moms, our dads, the aunties and uncles around us, they teach us that the world is all about us. It's all about me. So when it comes to making a commitment, to honoring our word to someone or something we said we would do, if it inconveniences me, or if it makes my life more difficult, I'm just not gonna do it, especially if I'm acting like a boy. Now, here's the key. We all have to learn how to embody and embrace this skill of commitment. To be able to show up in the world as a man whose word is gold, whose word is something that people can lean on, can count on, is the most valuable resource you can possibly have. But tell me if this sounds like you. You want to do what you said you would do. You want to show up on time to your appointments. You want to show up for your friend that you said you would help move their couch on the weekend. But something keeps getting in the way. You just can't seem to find a way to be there on time, to show up for that commitment. It's frustrating. It's hard. When we break our word, there's a literal pain, something somatically we feel in our bodies that just, feel icky, it feels gross. And the frustration compounds when we ask ourselves, why can't I figure this out? Why can't I just do what I said I was gonna do? Don't worry, it's all part of the process. It's all part of practicing this skill of commitment, gilding your word to the point where it is solid gold, that people can count on it. Like I said before, it's one of the greatest assets and resources you can have, is a strong word, something that people can lean on, that people can depend on. Whether it's business, whether it's your relationships, whether it's taking care of the people around you, when people know that you'll do what you said you would do, there's nothing more valuable than that. But it's a skill. So how do we practice this skill? How does a boy becoming a man learn how to make his word mean something? It starts with a couple of things. First, remember this phrase: everything matters. Everything matters. There's no hierarchy, there's no prioritization. Everything matters because everything reveals how we show up in our lives. If I show up to commitments that only other people see, but I hit the snooze button when I said I was gonna wake up at 6 o'clock, or I didn't go to the gym 3 times a week, I went twice, but nobody saw, so it doesn't really matter. Or I didn't take out the trash when I told my wife I was going to, but that's okay, they'll pick it up next week. Doesn't matter. No. Everything matters. Even to the example of throwing the piece of paper into the wastebasket and bouncing off and saying, nah, you know what, someone will pick that up later. That matters. When you start conducting your life in a way where everything matters, every opportunity to be integral and impeccable is one that you seize and show up for, that's when your word begins to mean something. 99% of it are things that people won't see. A simple definition of integrity is doing the right thing even when nobody's watching. Only doing the right thing when people are watching, that's boy stuff. That's looking for approval, for validation. When you pick up that piece of paper on that dirty bathroom floor in the public park because you know it's the right thing to do, that's when you know you're on the right track. Everything matters. Make everything in your life matter. Show up for the simple things and the really big things the same way. And that's when you start to see that there's no alternative. There's no conditions upon your integrity and your impeccability. That's when your word becomes solid gold, because there's only gold mixed in. There's no other elements to the equation. It's just gold. There, people know what they're gonna get when you say you're gonna do something. Now here's the other piece of the equation. Everything matters. Now the other side of that is something I like to call leverage. as a father, as a husband, the commitments I have to my family, to provide, to protect them, to create the life that my wife and I have talked about building for our kids, is all of the leverage that I need. Because if I bail on my commitments, or I don't do something that supports that commitment coming to fruition, then I'm selling my family out. All I have to do is look at my daughter, look at my son, look at my wife, and realize, damn, it's not comfortable, it's not convenient. There's many things I'd rather do right now than show up on time for this commitment. But it's not about me, it's about them. That's called leverage. Now, a younger man who doesn't have a family, who can live off of $1,000 a month, who can live out of his car, who can travel the world with no real sense of commitment, it's difficult to have that sense of leverage. But at some point, that guy has to become the man who can provide and protect for a family. So how do we get there? How do you learn how to practice that skill of commitment? It's called leverage. So next time you want to make a commitment, let's say you're committing to calling 5 of your friends every week just to stay connected and to harvest greater relationships with people that you love. And you write down that commitment. You put it in a place where you're going to see it every day so that it's top of mind. And then you also tell yourself, if I don't call 5 friends this week, the consequence for that will be a 3-minute dip in an icy cold bath, right? Or I'm going to donate $50 to a charity that's about building relationships. Something that is inconvenient for you, more inconvenient than doing the commitment you said. And it's got to be big. It can't be, oh, I'm going to go and I'm going to, run a lap around the block, because that's not big leverage. It might be big leverage for you, but that's where you got to check in with yourself. What is the leverage? What is the consequence I can tack onto this commitment that will make it so compelling that I gotta be my word with this? Because I don't want that consequence. Leverage, 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 leverage. If you don't already have it built into your life by bigger commitments you made, like a long-term committed relationship, providing for a family, paying the rent, etc., 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 then you can build leverage into your life. Make those commitments, write them down, put the consequence tacked onto it, and here's the kicker, and give it to people you know will hold you accountable. Give it to trusted friends, trusted brothers, people who you know are gonna check in and say, hey, did you call those 5 friends this week? My phone wasn't ringing. Did you call 5 other people? Because if not, icy cold bath, baby, let's do it. Which one is it? What did you do? It's gotta be measurable, it's gotta be specific, so there's no wiggle room or grayness. It's a yes, no, black, white. Did I do it? Did I not? That's the key. So wherever you are on this journey of making it all about yourself to figuring out how to make your word mean something, everything must matter. You must treat everything like it matters, or else it won't, or else you won't care. And the way you do one thing, the way you treat one thing in your life is the way you treat all things in your life. Leverage, putting something on the table, raising the stakes, putting some skin in the game, for God's sakes, and making it actually challenging and uncomfortable for you to choose to bail on your commitment. It may still happen, and you'll entertain some people when you have to do a naked chicken dance in the park, or you got to go do an icy bath, but have some fun with it too. Don't take yourself so seriously. That's what I've had to learn in my life, is I'm not perfect, and it doesn't have to be so serious all the time. But let that be a practice. Make that word, make that commitment solid gold, because it is if you have nothing else in your life but your word, you have everything. You have everything. Because if you want a long-term committed relationship, if you want children, if you want to have a successful business, if you want to make impact in the world, it all comes down to relationships. And if people can't count on you, can't count on me to do what I said I was going to do, then those relationships are in question. My word is in question. Trust is in question. So make that word gold, baby. Make it matter. Make it mean something. If you like the heat that we're dropping on these Monday morning meditations, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Go check out the Rising Man podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, or Spotify, and support the Rising Man movement at risingman.org. Catch y'all later.